There is a solace in introspection because living in my mind is easier. At first, I didn't think I could relate to these lyrics from Protection by Movements. But after thinking of it a bit more, this is exactly my experience too. Today, we are going to explore how we overthinkers tend to analyze our feelings instead of actually feeling them. Spoiler alert, it's not as helpful as we think it is. Movements has so many lyrics we can relate to, so this probably won't be the last time I talk about them. But this line, it's perfect for this topic. When I first heard living in my mind is easier, I immediately thought, nope, not for me. My mind often feels chaotic, and I do a lot of things to stay out of it. For example, when I go on a run or even on a walk, now it's rare that I listen to music, because it's easy to let your mind wander from it. So I listen to podcasts and I make sure I hear every word the speakers have to say. So this is the only thing I focus on, and the rest of the chaos in my mind is in the background. But then I considered the full lyric. There is a solace in introspection, and suddenly it made sense. Whenever I feel like a feeling, an emotion is coming, I directly turn to analysis. And to label it, dissect it, figure out what brought it here, and most importantly, understand how to avoid it in the future. It feels productive and even comforting. Like they say in the song, there's a solace in introspection. And I've convinced myself for years that this is dealing with my emotions. But no, it's not. It's a defense mechanism. It's like sweeping dirt under the carpet. Out of sight, out of mind. But as anyone with a dusty rug knows, that mess eventually builds up. This approach is especially true for what we would call negative emotions, like sadness or anger. But bottling up the bad also applies to the good. When you teach your brain to suppress or rationalize feelings, it can blur the lines, making it harder to fully experience joy, excitement, or love. It's like my brain has been trained not to feel anything too deeply. I'm naturally not a very expressive person, so part of me always thought that this was just my personality. But the more I think about it, the more I realize it's not just who I am. It's a learned behavior shaped by years of putting my emotions away in the cave I talked about in my first episode. The cave keeps things safe, but it also keeps them stuck. Funnily enough, while I might not express my emotions, my face says it all. If I'm surprised, disgusted, confused, you will know immediately. My face is like an unfiltered broadcast channel, even though my words or actions might not match. Thank goodness I don't have more wrinkles, because really these muscles work over time. But beyond facial expressions, there's another layer to emotions, the physical sensations. My therapist often asks me where I feel my emotions in my body. The first time he asked me this question, I was very confused. He probably saw it on my face, by the way. What do you mean where? My emotions are in my head, obviously, even though sometimes I can feel sadness in my throat, for example, but this is just because I am keeping myself from crying. Not sure this is how it's supposed to work. So you know what? Let's see what is the correct answer. And I know there is no right or wrong answer in therapy, but still I need to be right. So we will do a little bit like we did in my episode Interpreting Dreams with Kenny Hoopla. I will go to ChatGPT, so disclaimer, this is nothing scientific. And I will ask, where in the body are we supposed to feel sadness, anger, fear? And let's see what they say and how normal people are supposed to feel. ChatGPT is being very nice and telling me it's totally okay if you don't feel your emotions in your body in a specific way. Everyone experiences emotions differently. So basically, I asked first for sadness. People are supposed to feel it in the chest, a sense of heaviness, tightness, or even an ache, sometimes described as a heartache. I don't think I've ever felt it. Well, I've felt sadness, of course, I hope. But not this way, but it looks like it's really when you're heartbroken, and maybe I'm lucky enough to not have felt that. Then throat, a lump or tightness often linked with the feeling of wanting to cry. Yeah, this I know it. Eyes and face, tingling, pressure, or a feeling of warmth from tears. I have never felt sadness in my eyes or my face, like just when I'm crying. Yes, of course, I feel my tears, but really it's all in my head. Shoulders and neck, tension or a sensation of drooping. Also cannot relate. And finally, gut, a hollow or sinking feeling in the stomach. Is that how people feel their feelings? Because, yeah, really, I don't remember feeling those really in my body. It's just all in my head. But yeah, maybe for later I would be more careful about it and I've just really haven't noticed it. Actually, I thought like there would be answers like, yeah, for sadness you can feel it in the palm of your hands. Anger, you feel it, I don't know, in your feet. But now the answers that I see, because I also asked for anger and they are pretty rational. You can feel it in your jaw and face with clenched teeth, a tight jaw. So yeah, makes sense. So I am a bit comforted in the fact that, like, really, when he asked me, what do you feel in your body? And I was like, what do you mean? Should I say in my leg or something? But no, okay. But yeah, for me, it's really just anything would be in the throat, because I guess it's just something that wants to go out, but that I push away to keep in. So yeah, does it make sense to you? Also would like to hear if you have felt it in a place that doesn't feel rational for it. So yeah, coming back to the song, as I said, the song is called Protection, and this is just a defense mechanism for me to do to protect myself. I still don't know exactly from what. I think this is also coming from my people-pleasing tendencies, to just not make people uncomfortable with my emotions, to not bother them. And talking about protection, maybe at first I did it to protect other people, mostly my parents when I was a child. As you may know, I am an only child with divorced parents, and I was very close to both of them. And maybe I got into my brain that if I was sad, it would make them sad. I am thinking of this one time I went to like a horse riding camp, and this was supposed to be a week, so sleeping there and every day basically going horse riding. And the first day, like really, my mom, I think, dropped me off, and directly I go to this horse that I'm going to ride. And while I prepare him, I can feel like he's nervous, but whatever, I just go for it. While I was riding it, he just started running out of nowhere very fast. It was getting also dangerous for the other people around. So yeah, I just fell on my shoulder. I was a bit stunned by the fall. Like, I remember that it hurt, but not so much, and that I was just a bit wondering what was happening. And I couldn't get up without the help of people around me. And so yeah, they drove me to the hospital. And when we were talking about it, the doctor said that, nah, it's just a bruise, because he could see that it did not hurt so much. I think he could even move it a bit. We still did x-rays, and in the end, he told me, oh yeah, it's broken. Of course it was. I knew it wouldn't just be a bruise. So I was kind of happy that it was one, just to prove him wrong. And additionally, it's broken and it has moved a bit. So normally when it does that, you're supposed to do a surgery to put it back in the right order. So first of all, I was scared of that, because that would have been my first surgery. I was, 12 years old maybe. And if the surgery didn't go right, it was so up in my shoulder that it was very close to, what you're moving. And if it touched it, then my arm would have stopped growing, or my bone, or I don't know exactly. So yeah, in the end, we decided not to do the surgery because too risky. So all of this time, I did not cry because I was hurt or anything. And when they tell me that it's broken, I just start crying. And the first thing I say is, please don't tell my mom. Because at this time, she was on holiday somewhere else, and I didn't want to ruin her holidays. And I felt very bad because obviously they had to tell her. So yeah, to protect other people, I just pretend that everything is fine. And now, since I keep everything in, it stays in my head and I think about it over and over again. I need to find solutions and explanations about why I feel that way, and feel like once I figured it out, it's solved. I found the cause, boom, gone. Well, not really. And I can also cry watching movies or something, but of course usually when I am alone. And even then sometimes I don't, because I'm thinking to myself, why are you crying about this? It's really not cry worthy. And I just stop myself. Something inside of me clearly wants to say something, but I just shut it down. And I think also because I have never had once in my life a moment when I cried and thought, oh, that was a good cry, now I can move on. I just feel even worse after. But this is actually maybe because I opened the bottle, let some out, and then close it. But there is still a bit some inside, so the pressure is still pretty high. And also, I am an ugly crier. I don't know how people can cry with just a tear rolling down their cheek and keeping a beautiful face. Not for me. So being self-aware sure doesn't help crying in front of people. And sometimes I also don't do it in front of people because I still haven't processed the emotion. And when you cry, of course, the first question that comes up is, why? What is happening? But I don't know. So first I need to do the whole process, the whole analysis, so that I can explain. But in the end, I think sometimes there is a reason, but it cannot really be explained. Like, you just need to let something out, and I know I should, but it's still very hard to do. And what about you? Are you the type to feel an emotion and just let it leave instantly? Or do you keep it inside, like brushing it on the carpet, but then realizing that it's starting to get too much, and that if you don't clean it, it's just going to be very obvious? Thank you for listening to this episode. If you relate to it, please don't think about it too much, because maybe this gave you even more leads to think about your feelings. Just feel them. I probably won't totally before a while, but try to, and I will also. If you like the episode, please leave a review, and you can follow me on Instagram at IntoTheCavePod. I will talk to you again next week with new hard-hitting lyrics. Be kind to yourself. Bye!